Hello everybody, so this is part 3 in a video series of me doing a trial run for a summer camp where I'm going to be teaching high schoolers game dev, and I'll be using the Godot 4.0 engine and Blender 3.5 for the models. Um, it's not a Godot tutorial, it's just, that's a nice one to introduce the concepts, so it's game dev, generalized game dev, we're just using the Godot engine and making our models in Blender because it has better tools to create the meshes, and then we'll do shaders and materials and stuff in the engine. And because Godot has less functionality on those, so it makes for a nice introduction to shaders and materials and game engine concepts those concepts can then be carried to the bigger game engines like Unity and Unreal. Uh, Especially Unreal, there's just so much to get lost in that it's not really a place to start off with. So, in the previous video, we set up a landscape in Blender. The last few versions of Blender, there's been a insert landscape button, so we can get that going really, really quick and set up some hills. But so that gives us space for our character to walk around, and we will do much better landscapes later. Uh, this is just the starting points, the thing, some objects to talk about the ideas in game engines and physics engines and all of that. Uh, so so walking around these hills, might want something else in the background of our background. So maybe some trees, which Blender also provides a button for that. If we go to Edit and Preferences, mentioned this in the previous one, under Add-ons, you can search for sappling, and that gives a tree button. In landscape, hit those check boxes, and then you have an insert landscape button and an insert a tree button. And the landscape is under a mesh, and the sapling tree generator is under a curve. So hit that. And it looks like it created it right at the origin, which is probably underneath our hills here. So I'm going to use the scroll wheel on the mouse to zoom in. I forgot to cover this in the first video. So you'll want just at least a regular 3-button mouse to work with 3D modeling. The middle wheel scrolling obviously sets that up. And if you hold Shift and click the middle wheel, you get panning. Shift click on this middle button, the scroll wheel, gets you the panning. Scroll in and out for zooming. Click the middle wheel and move your mouse just to get rotation to get the angle. So when we insert a sapling, we get this. There's different options, so geometry and leaves. You definitely want to do those two, but as you play around with things, you're going to want to play around with other ones. But geometry, the basic geometry of the tree, the basic shape, and the leaves, you'll want those every time. So start with geometry here. Try different things on the options. Change the bevel of the limbs, how curvy they are, straight. Um, Choose a good number there. Different shapes you can go to, so maybe something more conical, that'll work. Um, Adjust the numbers to fine tune the shape of that tree. Uh, Lots and lots of different settings. Down here is presets. So you can also just go in here and choose a pine tree or a maple or an aspen to read a couple of them off the list there. I'm just going to go with the basic one. To start off with, though, you're probably going to want to play around with it some. Try changing different things, see what the changes do. And once you get a basic geometry you like, you can make sure you come up here to leaves. And all of this needs done before you click anywhere else, because just like we saw with the landscape button in the previous video, once we accept all of these settings, we kind of have to go with them. So do add curve, put in your landscape, and if this is collapsed, you'll see it down here in the lower left corner. Expand the menu here and then go through and adjust everything. Well, obviously we probably want to see the leaves if we're going to do stuff with them. That gives us some leaf shapes. Choose what shape they are. What object are we connecting to? All that stuff. The number of leaves. You can click the middle wheel and scroll without losing that, but that's about the only thing you can do. Look at it from different angles. The angle down they are. how the leaves are rotated, try different settings, play around with different things, whether they're horizontal or vertical. Um, that'll be good for the introduction. So we just need some models to work with. So play around with different things. And once you get some settings you like, just click somewhere else, click on the tree to accept those. And notice over here in the top right now, we have a tree added in here. And if we expand that, you'll see leaves. And this triangle icon indicates it's a mesh. And this one, and this icon is saying it's just a curve. So notice that if we go to selected, our leaves and our tree are two separate objects. And to take them to the game engine, we need them both to be meshes. So select the tree, and under object, you'll see convert, and you can convert that curve into a mesh. So make sure you have the triangle icon on the tree and the leaves. That works good, looks good. Probably ready to put a material on it. Um, First off though, I'm going to zoom way out and look down from the top and put this tree someplace where, whoops, undo that. Let me show you what I just did. So it was selected. You'll notice the tree selected. So when I go to move it, the leaves come with it. You want to be careful though, because if you have the leaves selected and not the tree, and you go to move them, they will leave the tree behind. So make sure you have the tree selected, because that's the parent of the leaves. And then move that someplace where we can see it with our landscape. Because just like the landscape, uh, well, I guess it's personal preference. I like to have some colors to work with. And you kind of see there where the edge of the thing is, but that gives us our first tree sitting on the landscape so that we can uh, have something interesting there. I like to have some colors to look at. These are all going to be overridden. This stuff's going to be overridden later, but for trial things, let's add some colors to that. And we saw in the previous video, we can do that with the material, which we'll do better materials in the game engine later. And that's something I do in every game engine. I go ahead and put just a generic material in Blender to see the colors. And then in, well, Godot for this video series or Unreal or Unity, I will override those materials with the game engine materials. This little dot here is our material properties. Circle with the sort of separated circle. Hit the new button and we can create a material. And all we really need is the color. So most of the defaults are okay. Um, I'll put something kind of brownish for the tree trunk, which is just sort of a psychological thing. Everybody knows tree bark is gray, but unless you're doing absolute photorealism, it looks wrong to humans to put gray bark. For some reason, if it's not completely photorealistic, we want to do brown bark or it looks wrong. So put a brown material on the tree, and then we can select the leaves, which might be hard to select here. You might accidentally click between them or something. So you can also select over here in the hierarchy. So select leaves and add a new green material, a new material, just something green. And looking for something that doesn't clash too bad with the background. That looks pretty good. Maybe, I guess I could do a little bit darker on that so that the leaves are a little darker than the grass. Oh, whoops, that was the wrong one. Um, Actually, that works. I'll do the darker material on the grass and then the lighter color on the trees. So that gives us a material. So now we just need to duplicate this a lot. So come over to the hierarchy and select both of them, the tree, and then hold shift and select the leaves. So we have both of them. And when you push shift D, it will duplicate it and you can just move that around, find a spot. Might want to be zoomed in on it so you can make sure it's sitting on the ground like it should. Looks like the ground's there. I'm looking kind of at the bottom. See the ground overlaps a little. And just duplicate that a bunch of times. So Shift D, and I'll bring another one over here. And it's well below the ground. So again, I'm gonna, oh wow, that's really low. Bring it way up here till it's above the ground. And notice the meshes blend together so we can kind of tell where the ground is. That'll work good. Navigate around, you might take your time and get it in the right spot. And you can see it can be a little bit time consuming. So I'm going to pause the video and put maybe a dozen trees just around the landscape here. Not a full thick forest, but that same process, Shift D to duplicate it, choose the move option, and then just move it into a position on the thing. So I'm going to do that a bunch of times with the video paused. I'll be back in a split second as far as you all see. Okay, so you can see I put, with the video pause there, I put just a few groves of trees around. This is a quick one for the video. Oh, that tree looks a little low. Let me select this tree. And you'll just want to check things and kind of move them into what seems like a good position. I put a few little groves of trees around, and now we have a nice landscape for our character to walk around in. I just copied the same tree everywhere, but you probably would want to make a couple different trees to copy around because, yeah, there's variety in nature. There's more than just exact duplicates of the same tree, but that'll work for the video here. The same process, just get some variety in your trees, and that gives our character a nice place to walk around. There'll be a nice little lake here to do something with water. That's a really easy shader to code, so we'll see that in an upcoming video. But that gets our landscape. So now we're ready to put that send that over into Godot, which I will import it into Godot in the next video. And then we'll come back and make a character, which we'll probably do from scratch. We'll just create a cube and modify that into the first step of a character shape. Definitely not the final version here, but we'll get something to, and then add a quick animation so that the legs and arms move on what's still basically a cube shape. We'll add arms and legs to a cube and make those move for a basic animation so that we can start looking at the game logic and how a game engine works and putting that parts together. So I'll see you in the next video, and we'll take our landscape over into the Godot game engine.